human life is very important. And if such terrorist attacks are forwarded against innocent people like women and children, this is again something unacceptable according to the Quran, because the Quran very severely rejects committing suicide and giving harm to innocent people. A true Muslim cannot accept this, because the religion of Islam is very protective for innocent people. Because when we read the Quran, we see that Allah wants us to forgive even murderers. So this shows the extent of love which is dictated by the Quran. According to the Quran, such attacks, such suicide attacks are not acceptable at all, because the Quran is about love, it is about peace, and it is about brotherhood. So Quran cannot be used to support any idea of violence and terror. So human beings need to know this, because this is a fact which cannot be denied. But then, if there are still other people who think in this way, you can bring those people to me, and I will just be able to change their ideas and way of thinking.
Saudi Arabia forbids recently several books of persons of writers from the Muslim Brotherhood, like Said Qutb and others. What do you think of the writings of Said Qutb?
I know him as a person who has good intentions, and I have read several of his books, and I did not come across anything abnormal or anything surprising. But then, it is not, of course, we cannot say that everything one says is true. There is no such thing, because errors can be corrected, and we can come to the what is right altogether. In Islam, there is no such thing as blind belief. We need not to believe things blindly. We need to question things. And every one of our beliefs need to be based on the Quran and on the Hadiths.
Do you think secularism is a good thing?
Yes, of course. Secularism is a very important component of Islam, and Islam supports the idea of secularism, because it is a system which needs to be part of any Islamic system, because it is only through secularism that we can differentiate between true believers and false believers. It is only through secularism that we can be aware and distinct of sincere believers.
But many Islamic scholars reject secularism. There are also others. He even says that Muslims who accept secularism are not true Muslims.
Well, in Turkey, all Muslims support the concept of secularism, and they have been able to live their religion in a very good way throughout the ages, because Islam and secularism cannot be separated. They are in complete harmony with one another. So no matter what person says, secularism is a very strong component of Islam. And I don't know that very statement of Qardawi, but I guess that he did not use secularism as we are now discussing it, and he might have used it in the atheist framework and in the atheist context, because secularism, as we know it, grants freedom to people in terms of their religious beliefs. So in that sense, it is very important. But then there are different understandings of secularism which bring us closer to atheism and complete rejection of Allah.
Yes, we were talking about secularism. Now, do you think the concept of state of countries like Saudi Arabia or Iran or Egypt is correct according to Islamic understanding of Islamic understanding?
I can give you an example from the Constitution of Iran, for example. The very first article of the Iranian Constitution says that this Constitution is valid until Mahdi's coming. After the Mahdi comes, the things he will be saying will be valid. So with Mahdi's coming, there will be a very humanitarian, a very secular, and a very strong Islamic understanding ruling the world. And this will be attaching great importance to love, to art, and to brotherhood, and to aesthetics.
But in several of these countries, it's forbidden to choose one's religion.
So with Mahdi's coming, all such problems will be solved. These have been explained in the habits, in the sayings of... So all these have been explained in the habits, in the sayings of the Prophet. Because in these habits it is explained that the Islamic world will be going through a great dissolution, and everyone will be one against each other. There will be a great chaos ruling in the Islamic world, and there will be great instances of bloodshed all around the Islamic world. But after Mahdi's coming, these problems will be solved, and after the Mahdi, we will have an Islamic understanding, which is essentially the real Islamic understanding, and it will rule the whole world.
You said the big advantage of secularism is that one can choose one's religion. In Saudi Arabia, for example, it's forbidden for a Muslim to convert to another religion. So is the law in Saudi Arabia in this case wrong?
Well, when Mahdi comes, such problems will be solved, as I have said, because these have been explained in the hadiths. For example, in one of those hadiths, it is stated that there will be someone in Medina who will come up against the Mahdi and say to Mahdi that you have made our religion extinct, you affected our religion in a bad way. So our Prophet also explains that the job of Mahdi is a very difficult one, because up to that point, until Mahdi's emergence, people were either disbelievers or they were not sincere in their belief in God. But then Mahdi will be fighted against. He will be rejected with the cover of the Quran, because people will use the Quran as a gun against the Mahdi. So Mahdi will have to change the ideas of people around him, who think that they are taking every step of theirs in accordance with the Quran. On the other hand, it will be clearly known that their idea of Islam is a corrupted one, and Mahdi will change that for good, and people will start to believe in real Islam. So our Prophet has also said that Mahdi's job in this sense is a very difficult one, because he will not be fighting against disbelief, but against belief, against people who believe that their belief is the right one. And all these things will be happening in 10 years' time, and in 10 years' time I hope that we will